act different leads to think different. Okay, so this is thinking different is association. Connecting widely different objects, technologies, disciplines to create something new. My best example is Steve Jobs. Creativity is connecting things. What does that mean? Okay, Steve Jobs, when he was at university, did not study computer science. He took a course in philosophy. He went to India for 1 year. No shoes, just walk around, spend time in the temple, the ashram, learning about meditation. But when he was in university, he also took a course on calligraphy. Calligraphy is the art of handwriting. Chinese, Japanese, you do the character, very beautiful. He took a course on that. Now you might say, why? How can you make money? How can you be successful by studying calligraphy? I'm sure if you went to your father and say, oh, I want to major in calligraphy, right? Your father maybe, I don't know, kick you out of the house or do something. So what happened was, he took this course. Many years later, when they had the printer, the printer for the computer, the original printer only had one font. The original printer was like typewriter, only one font. Steve Jobs was the one who gave us all of the fonts that we have. So now you have hundreds of fonts in your computer, right? You have Times New Roman, Serif, Gothic. That is because of Steve Jobs. He took this art course, this handwriting course. So he said to himself, if I print a document on the computer, I don't just want one boring type. I want to be able to say, oh, I want Gothic, I want different font. Because he remembered his art course, which had different fonts, big lines, small lines, different designs. And he got the idea from art class, and he brought it to the computer printer. And he said to the engineers, why cannot we create the printer that can print in many different fonts? And they did it. But the idea came from the art class, not from studying computer science. So had he studied computer science, we might today be printing only in one font, right? Only one type of font. And I remember the first printers, they only had one font. Right? Very boring, very, very boring. So this is what we mean by connecting things. You do something over here, you take something over here, and then you realize this connection. This is creativity. What other stories do I have here? Oh, telecommunications conference. Another real story. This guy, he's a computer scientist, and he's working for a telecommunications company. His job is to write computer programs that will connect telephone calls around the world. So this is maybe, 20 years ago, 15 years ago. So if someone calls from Paris and they're calling Phnom Penh, there's a computer program that will send that call here in a very efficient and very effective way. So he's working on software for phone companies. He attends a conference. He gets bored, he goes to the bar, and he starts talking next to the person next to him. The person sitting next to him is a woman. And he asks her, what do you do? She goes, I'm a PhD student. She goes, I do research on insects. He goes, insects? And she goes, yeah, I study how ants move. Ants? Yeah. When they get the food, how do they collect the food, the direction, the way they organize. And he said, wait a minute, isn't it interesting? I'm doing phone. Like, how do you get the call from one location to the other? Ants also have a natural system, right? So if the ants find something, they all zoom in very efficiently, right? So he leaves his job to study ants. And after 1 or 2 years of studying insects, he writes a very creative and innovative software for the telephone company. So he get the idea from insects, from another discipline, not from telecommunications, right? So this is what I mean by diverse network also. When you have people that are doing something different, you ask questions what they are doing, and then you say, hey, what you are doing also relate to what I am doing, right? This is what we mean by creativity. Here's another example I like, we call forced association. And I do this with my students. I gave this on a recent exam. What would be the benefits if you combine these two companies? Completely unrelated field. Okay, so let's say Boeing, it produces, what does Boeing make? Airplanes. What does BlackBerry do?
Phones.
BlackBerry is a Canadian company. I'm Canadian, by the way, so I will promote a Canadian company. If you have a merger between these two companies, so let's say Boeing and BlackBerry join together. Very different, right? One is planes, one is phones, right? This is what I mean by creativity. Different area, not the same area. What is the advantage? What is the benefit? What could you do? So this is an actual exam question I give my students, because I want them to use their imagination, right? I know they understand Boeing, they know the company, I know they know BlackBerry, what they produce. So suddenly, if these two companies are pushed together in a partnership, you know, usually partnership is same industry, right? But in this case, it's different industry. What could be the advantage? What could be the advantage for BlackBerry, and what could be the advantage for Boeing? Using your imagination. What new products could you come up with this type of collaboration? This is creativity. This is imagination. Challenge your brain to think something different outside the box.
To have phone on the airplane.
Exactly. That was I love this one, right? Right now you cannot use your phone on the airplane. So if you are working with Boeing, designing the phone, so I have my phone engineer work with my Boeing people to design a special Boeing phone, okay, which you don't have to turn off on the aircraft. Why? Because they design it. The same people who design the aircraft and the navigation system design the phone so there's no interference, right? So suddenly I have a special Boeing phone made by BlackBerry, which I don't have to turn off on the airplane. I think that is really cool. That is one idea. Any other ideas? I would buy that. What else could you do? What is BlackBerry good at? Communication, tracking, locating things, you know, messaging, right? So if I have a BlackBerry, you have a BlackBerry where you know where I am, we can connect, we can share data, we can share information. Would that be valuable for Boeing? Do planes need to share information? Anything recently happened with an aircraft from Malaysia? What happened recently with a Boeing aircraft in Malaysia? Going to China, what happened? We don't know where it is. BlackBerry is very good at, you know, if you have a BlackBerry phone, we know they're good at tracking, right? So maybe there's a better way too than using BlackBerry technology to know where the Boeing is. Just a thought, right? So it's a bit of a joke, but it's a kind of funny thing. So maybe that they can use the BlackBerry technology on the plane. So the plane, we always know where the plane is, so we don't lose the plane, right? It's just an idea. So again, you know, these are simple ideas, but it's using your imagination. Actually, BlackBerry recently came out with a phone called Porsche, you know, the German car company, and they actually called it the Porsche. And it's a very expensive one, but it's the design, right? So they said Porsche is famous for design. So they have the Porsche BlackBerry phone. And the premium price is very expensive, right? It's like 5 times the existing phone cost, right? So here you could also have a Boeing phone. I think that could be kind of cool, which again works in the aircraft. And there might be other ideas, right? This is only maybe a Boeing app and things that you could do. So the whole idea of this exercise is to use your imagination. I could have picked any 2 companies. I picked these companies. I could have given you any 2, right? Walt Disney and something else. And it's just to see how you can think and come up with creative ideas for new products and new services. Quick video. We have our speaker system on.
Welcome to the HBR IdeaCast from Harvard Business Review. I'm Sarah Green. I'm here today with Jeff Dyer, whose latest book is The Innovator's DNA, co-authored with Hal Ferguson and Clay Christensen. Jeff, thanks so much for being here.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
In the book, you talk about the 5 skills of disruptive innovators. How did you settle on these 5 skills? What are these 5 skills?
Well, we started about 10 years ago trying to figure out where do disruptive business ideas come from. And we decided the best way to figure it out was let's go study business innovators and figure out exactly where and when they came up with these disruptive business ideas. So we talked to dozens of innovators, and we found that one group of them were often asking questions. They were questioners, and they wanted to know a variety of things about a problem, an industry, a company. So for example, at Peter Thiel and Max Levchin at PayPal, we're asking how can we beam money to other people? And this led for them to come up with the idea that maybe they could attach money to an email, and this led to the emergence of PayPal. Others were observers. For example, Howard Schultz took a trip to Italy. He began observing espresso bars. He loved the romance, the coffee, and he said, I got to take this back to America. He adapted it, brought it back, and here we have Starbucks. Others were networkers. Mike Lazardis, who started Research in Motion, maker of the BlackBerry, was listening to a fellow talk about how Coke machines could wirelessly tell the distribution center, I'm out of Coke, and I need to be refilled. And he thought, wouldn't it be cool if everybody had like an interactive pager device that could wirelessly send information to others that they wanted to send it to. So networking was the catalyst for the new innovation in the idea. And finally, others were experimenters. So Michael Dell was an experimenter, taking things apart, putting them back together, especially computers during his high school days. And what he learned as a part of taking them apart and souping them up and putting them back together is he could do it for 30% less than IBM could provide an off-the-shelf computer. And so, the Dell Direct model was born. So those 4 behaviors, questioning, observing, networking, and experimenting, were behaviors that triggered associational thinking. This is a cognitive skill where we're able to sort of connect new things together to create something new. So for example, when Steve Jobs attended some calligraphy classes and learned about sort of beautiful typography, he then took those ideas and associated them with creating great typography on a computer, and voila, we had the Macintosh and desktop publishing. So these are behaviors that actually trigger creative ideas, and we found that those behaviors, if mastered, can help anyone to improve their creativity and their ability to be innovative.
Let's just take one of those, say experimenting. How would I go about improving my ability to be an experimenter?
That's a good question. What we learned actually is that there are 3 different ways that people experiment. So I talked about Michael Dell. One of the ways he was an experimenter was taking things apart and putting them back together. So one way to be a good experimenter is to practice taking apart products, taking apart processes or ideas and concepts, and then trying putting them back together to see what you learn. And so if you could on a regular basis take apart a product, could be your company's product, competitor's product, could be processes in your company and other companies, and try and put them back together, that might trigger new ideas for you about how to do the product and process better. A second way to experiment is just the classic way we think about experimenting, which is testing an idea in the marketplace and seeing if it works. Thomas Edison is sort of famously quoted as having said, I haven't failed, I just found 10,000 ways that don't work, right? Because he just continues to try new things and test the ideas and see what he learns. So in our interviews, the innovators often said, I launch a pilot, I run the experiment, let's try it and see what happens. So you would be regularly trying to pilot something or test something and to see how it works and to see what you can learn. And the third way of experimenting is simply being an explorer. Visiting new countries, companies, environments, learning a new skill like Steve Jobs did when he learned calligraphy and then brought that to the Macintosh computer. So just trying on new experiences, trying out new things, not even testing ideas, that's another way that you can sort of experiment and then bring that knowledge as you try and creatively problem solve.
So if you wanted to sort of help your team master some of these skills, how could you go about encouraging them to do so when they may feel they're already very busy with their real jobs?
Sure. Well, at first it may feel like this is extra work. But let's face it, if your company doesn't do anything new or different in the next 10 years, 10 years from now, you'll be way behind. You've got to do new things. So the first step is you got to create a culture and a set of processes that encourage people to question, that encourage them to challenge the status quo, and legitimize that that's okay here in our team, in our organization. Second, you got to create some processes and time for them to go observe, whether it's observing customers, whether it's observing other companies. For example, Google and Procter & Gamble actually organized an employee swap. For about 2 months, their marketing and HR employees just went and lived at the other organization to see how they did things. And then they brought those ideas back to their company. But you got to make time for observing if you want your team to be innovative. Of course, networking is another thing you can do, giving them opportunities to go to conferences, bringing in people from the outside, maybe a weekly lunch where you bring in someone who has a different background and knowledge to talk to your group, to give their perspective on your problems and challenges would be another way you could sort of build networking skills in your team. And finally, of course, experimenting is run the experiment, launch the pilot. Let's be willing to try new things. Let's see what we learn. Not having a culture of we're not going to try things because we might fail is really important to help your team innovate.
Well, that's a good place to start. I know there's a lot more in the book. Jeff, thanks so much for talking to us today.
Thank you.
That's Jeff Dyer, and the book is The Innovator's DNA. For more, go to hbr.org.
Okay, one just quick idea that I like, what he just said there, and I should have also mentioned it, is this idea of exchanging employees. Like he said, one company sent, Procter & Gamble sent their employee to, I forget the company, and that company sent their employee. So I mean, you could actually do that here. So even Transparency International, you could send an employee to Coca-Cola, which is like completely the opposite and different, right? And then you could have a marketing person come from Coca-Cola here, and they think differently, and you think differently. And I bet you both of those organizations would learn something from that process, right? It doesn't have to be Coca-Cola, but I mean, that type of thing. So I would like to try that, because I think that would accomplish some difference and change in organizations in terms of how they operate. You could do that with universities and schools. We do that with countries, right? We have an exchange student, maybe from Japan, in our class here. People in our class learn a lot from that student. And then if a Cambodian student goes to Japan, Japanese students learn from that Cambodian student. So I like this idea of exchange, company-wise also, not just for education. Quick, I feel like I have to race here because I don't know how much time I have left.
4 minutes.
Okay, some very quick concepts. Other ideas. Team is very important. We are not individual. So I always say that having diverse team is a very, it helps you on the creative process. So in other words, I would prefer to have an A team and a B plan than basically the opposite, which would be an A plan and a B team. So in other words, people are more important than idea. If you only have one idea, it does not get you very far. A good team will have many ideas. Right? So I always want to have a diverse team, people from different backgrounds, people like yourself, all from different majors and schools and different backgrounds here, is much more creative than having a group of people who are very much the same. So people first, idea second. So if my organization, my company, Transparency International, if they have a lot of diversity in their organization, they will be able to solve problems and create more success and ideas in the future, right? So having good creative employees and diverse employees helps. So a company like Coca-Cola, they sell Coca-Cola around the world. So they must have people from India, people from China, people from many different countries and backgrounds on their team, right? So this is the idea. My favorite concept, reverse assumption. Do the opposite. We assume X, so I do Y. Any of you know who this guy is? He was recently in Phnom Penh. He spoke at CJCC. Won the Nobel Peace Prize. Mohammed Yunus, Grameen Bank. He is the father of microfinance. So if you know about microfinance, like Aklida, like all these microfinance NGOs in Cambodia, he is from Bangladesh. He is the guy who created this concept. When he spoke in Phnom Penh, I love this idea. He was a university professor and he saw the problem in the society of people could not borrow the money. Poor people could not go to the bank and borrow the money. It was very, very difficult. So he decided he would create his own bank. So he knew nothing about banking. So what he said was, he goes, how does the existing bank do? I will do the opposite. This is reverse assumption. So traditional bank give money to wealthy people, right? Who have land, who have many assets, right? So, even like Cambodia, if you want to get a loan, if you're rich, it's very easy, right? If you're poor, it's difficult, right? So he said, okay, I will do the opposite. I will focus on poor customer, not on wealthy customer. Traditional bank usually gave money to men. He did the opposite. He said, I will not give to men, I will focus on women. I will target them. Traditional banks usually require collateral, meaning I give you money, but you have to give me your property deed, you have to give me some collateral, some asset in case you don't pay, and then I take. He said, I will do the opposite. No collateral required. I will give you money without land, without collateral, without motorcycle. Traditional bank client the customer come to the bank. So my bank is in Phnom Penh, you are from outside, you must come to my bank and apply for a loan. He says, no, I will do the opposite. Customer will not come to me, I will go to my customer. I will go to the village and speak to the people. You want to borrow, talk about money, right? So the opposite. You don't go to the bank comes to you. So this is what we mean by reverse assumption. You look at how someone does something now, and you say, what if I did the opposite? They do X, what if I did Y? Would it work? Not work? I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean it will work, but it's a way of playing, because we assume that many things must be like they are, right? We assume that banks must only be like this. But he created a new concept in terms of microfinance. This is my favorite example. Let's say you're setting up a restaurant in Phnom Penh. We assume, in our mind, we picture a restaurant, tables, chairs, selling food. And we assume there is light, right? We assume that we have light. But what if I take away the light? What happens? Right? So what if I have a restaurant all in darkness?
Dining.
You got it, dying in the dark. Okay, so I have that. So they do the opposite, right? They don't add something in, they actually subtract. They actually take something away. I had them as guest speaker actually in my class. Really fascinating. Now, you have a problem. The problem is this. If I take away the light, how do I serve the food to my customer? Their solution is they hire blind people. Because blind people who are visually impaired is the correct word. In slang we say blind. People who cannot see are used to the dark. For them, dark is natural, right? So this restaurant hires people who cannot see. You come, I've actually been there. You go to the restaurant downstairs. It is light downstairs, right? And you meet your waiter. They ask you what menu. They don't tell you your food, right? You can order Cambodian menu, vegetarian menu, international menu, but you don't know beef, chicken, what. They ask if you have food allergy, just so there's no problem, right? Then you have to hold like this, and then the waiter, the blind one is the first one, he leads you upstairs into the darkness, and it's like, like where is my chair, and touching, right? In 100% dark. They take away your phone, okay? Not allowed. So downstairs you must give your phone. If you have light on your watch, you must give. They have a lockbox, all right? No cheating. They don't allow any light, zero light. So you are there and you sit down, and when they serve the food, they tap you to let you know they are there, right? And then they put the plate there. But how do you eat, right? Because chopstick, but I don't know where, right? So I have to use my hand to touch, and scoop on my spoon, right? They give you a souvenir bib, right? Just in case you have accident, right? So they actually give you a thing to wear in case you spill something. But they say most people don't spill, actually, because you're very careful and you have to feel your drink and stuff like that. And so you don't know how many people are in the restaurant, right? You can hear some of them talking at the different table, but I don't know 10 people are here, 20 people are here. I can guess only by the sound. And the food, you must use your taste, not your eyes. Normally you look at food before, you say, oh, this is hot, this is spicy, this is this. You can't, right? So you must rely completely on your other sense, just like you are blind. So it is teaching you what it is like to be blind. They are the expert. They are the king there because that is their normal environment. You are like, you need help. They are the ones who are helping you, not you help them, right? It's the opposite, right? And you are also social business. You are helping the profit go to the blind and that, right? So I love this idea. This is a very creative idea. They don't add something in. They take something away, right? They do the opposite, light to no light. Very interesting. I was very excited by, even after 1 hour, you see nothing, right? Zero, right? Your eyes, no adjustment. You just, it's complete 100% pitch dark. Now someone says, what if you have to go to the toilet? Okay, it's not in the dark, okay? If you have to go to the toilet, you call the waiter. Some people get scared too, so the waiter says, if you have a problem, just call my name, and they will come and they will help you, right? So they escort you outside if you have to go to the washroom and downstairs, right? Because we joke, in the dark may be difficult also, right? So, but again, it's to give you the experience of what it is like to be blind, but to also practice the other sense of touching, tasting. I also asked them, any funny story? A lot of funny stories, I cannot say. But again, in one of these waitresses, I think it is her, she is a student at PUC, Kanyasastra University, studying first-year law. And my people say, first-year law, she's on Facebook, but she cannot see. So I say, how can you use Facebook when you cannot see? She has special software that gives her the sound, right? Special program. When she studied at PUC.
I used to meet her as well.
Good, okay, so it's a very impressive person.
Yeah.
So even though you are blind, it shows you can still study law at Kanyasastra University, graduate, right? I don't think she's graduated yet, but she will, I expect. So very interesting story. So called Dying in the Dark. They have in Phnom Penh, they have in Hong Kong, they have in Paris, they have in a few countries around the world. Travel agent. See, travel agency is a dying business. Why? Because everyone is booking their ticket online. Now, in Cambodia, you still have some travel agent because people are not all booking their ticket online. But in North America, travel agency is not a good business because now people just go online, internet, they use their credit card, they buy the cheap air ticket, they buy their hotel. They don't really go to travel agent like in Cambodia. So the question is, how do you change this creatively to make it a success? So we assume, for example, reverse assumption. Traditional travel agent. I know I want to go to Paris. I go to the agent in Phnom Penh and I ask them to book my air ticket, my hotel, whatever, right? And then I pay them. So I have the idea, I tell them what I want. But what if you did the opposite? What if you go to the travel agency and you have no idea where you want to go? And they tell you where to go. Does that work? Can you think of a business, an agency, where you, the customer, don't tell them, I want to go somewhere. They tell you. Real business, Magical Mystery Tours, based in Washington, D.C. What they do is this. You want to travel. They survey you. They interview you. They find out what is your passion. You might say, oh, I'm into mountain climbing, I'm into nature, I'm into, rafting. And so they do a profile on you. You have to take the survey. What you like, what is your hobby, you like hot destination, cold destination. Then they choose your location, and they do not tell you. It's sealed envelope, okay? They give you the sealed envelope. Now they tell you a little bit, like you should wear this type of clothing. So they might say you are going to a cold weather climate, so make sure you have sweater, make sure you have this. Or you're going to a hot weather climate. They give you some indication, but they don't tell you what country, what part of. Give you the sealed envelope at the airport. You arrive ready to take off with your luggage. You get the sealed envelope. You open it up. Oh, I'm going to New Zealand for whitewater rafting, right? And they explain their answer. They explain why they chose the destination, and they give you the whole itinerary. First day, you will go hiking in the national park. You will stay at this boutique eco lodge, whatever. Very, very successful business, right? So they did the opposite. So instead of the customer choosing, they use their expertise of travel and their knowledge of you through the survey to figure out your dream destination, basically. So it's, again, magical mystery, and this is one of the things they give you the postcard and stuff like that. So obviously this one, I think, was from Germany or something, some castle. So obviously someone had a dream of castles of history or something like that. But a very interesting concept. Whether it would work in Cambodia, I don't know, right? Maybe not, maybe people too conservative. But I like the imagination, I like the creativity. So what are they selling? They're not selling air tickets, they're not selling all of that, they're selling the creative idea, destination. We know what is the ideal place for you based on our survey and knowledge of who you are. So, and it's a business, successful business. Maybe someone wants to try this in Phnom Penh. Okay, this is a favorite one also. Think of a typical office space. Okay, let's say we are at Transparency International. And let's say we go to the office over here or upstairs, wherever your office is. I'm assuming that you have desks and you have chairs, right? That when you work, you sit on chairs. What if I take away the chairs? Can you do that? Can you have an office with no chairs? Is it possible? What would it look like? Why would you want to do it also? What would be the benefit of that? So let's say I have a big open office, right? An open office, a lot of desks, maybe 40 people, big open space, and I take away the chairs. Maybe I do something with the desk. Can you do that? And why would you do that? Why would you want to do that? How would it look like? People working and standing. Could we do that in this classroom here? You're all sitting. Could I have you standing? And how would that look? So I am standing, right? I am doing this 2 hours, not sitting down, right? So if I asked you to stand, what would be the benefit of that? Okay, well, real company. This is a company I visited in Utah. No chair. Desk is higher up, okay? So they elevate the desk up to about here. He has his computer, he has his workstation, he has his drawers. No chair, right? Because the desk is very high. He is working like this. Now, they do have some traditional desk in the office that they do have the chair. But they have many spaces like this, and that's why I took the picture. I was observing, right? Hey, this is interesting. No chair, he is standing, take the picture. I'm curious about this. Why? Why would someone want to work standing up? Why would a company do that? So I could do that here. Instead of your tables here, I could have a higher table, and you could come in and write notes like this, but you are standing up. Number one is health benefits. They have done studies, 2 different types of people. Bus driver and the person who sells the ticket. Many countries, they have bus driver. People who are always sitting. People who are selling the tickets on the bus. Of course, Cambodia doesn't have bus, really. There's maybe one, but the person who sells the ticket is usually walking all the time selling tickets. Bus driver always dies before, significantly before. So when they do studies over many years, they find that people who sit for a long period of time die earlier than people who are standing and move up. Why? Because they move up very smartly. Notice I'm not sitting, right? I read the study.
I join you.
Because humans are made to move. Our body, our evolution, our design is about movement. It's not about sitting, watching TV, or sitting on chair. So they realize that, now this person is not standing all day long. They do have some desks with chairs. So he's probably doing this for 1 or 2 hours. And then he's sitting at a traditional one. And then getting up and getting down. Because this is very healthy. Company likes it also because healthcare goes down, healthier workforce, stronger workforce. I would say you're also more alert, right? I would say that when you are sitting down like this, sometimes you get sleepy, right? If I watch some student, they start to slide down, sleep, relax, right? But you can't do that when you are standing. You are more alert, you are more focused. Some companies also have treadmill. Some companies in the US I saw, they exercise. So they are moving the treadmill, walking. So they're like walking and typing, right? So they're getting physical exercise through walking. You could also do bicycle. This is my creativity, right? Exercise bike, and I'm typing and stuff like that, and I'm getting a workout. Interesting. So the whole idea is challenging the way we do. We all think that a classroom must be like this. We all think that an office must have desks and chairs. But what if we did the opposite, or what if we take away something? Why? What is the benefit? What is the disadvantage, right? So this is what we mean by using your imagination, challenging. Sometimes we just assume everything must be done the same way. But we should say, what if we got rid of the chairs? What would happen, right? So in the next training, what happens if you get rid of the chairs, right? Would that work? Would that not work?
In advance.
Maybe you sit on the floor and you do a circle. I don't know. But again, this is doing things different, challenging the existing norms, right? So, you see this at Google. They write on the walls. At Google, you're allowed to write on the walls. They have glass walls. You can write on the desks. It's a very, very creative and open environment. So, we never think of writing on the walls, but why should I not be able to write on the walls, right? So maybe I could use all 4 walls for my whiteboard instead of having one whiteboard here, right? So this is what I mean by using your imagination and doing the opposite and challenging the way things normally are. But I love this picture. I thought that was cool. Now, to be fair, not so healthy because he had a lot of junk food and potato chips. Seriously. And I was watching him, he had like chocolate bars and potato chips, and he's doing, so obviously, maybe because he's eating, he also has to burn off more calories. But, oh yeah, another creative way is make a list of things that you don't like in everyday life. So things that you go to a bank, there's a long lineup, you go to the supermarket, why do I have to wait so long? Isn't there a creative solution to that? I think the supermarket in the future, there will be no lineup, right? You will have a chip, everything you buy will be electronic, you will leave the store and it will automatically register the price and bill your credit card. No need for a lineup, right? So sometimes if you figure out what people don't like to do, there's a successful business idea to solve that particular problem. So think about the things you don't like. Chances are other people also don't like that. Therefore, there might be some creative business solution to solve that problem. That's the idea. So look for problems in the society. Look for big problems. Chances are there's some solution. And maybe you can make money from that solution in a creative way. Yeah, we're almost finished. Okay, I don't need to go through that. Just one quick 3-minute video, I think.
The renowned entrepreneur and investor Vinod Khosla says that his firm, Khosla Ventures, invests in companies that have a 90% chance of failure. The probability of success for each venture is really low, but if the technology works, it will literally change the world. He's willing to absorb the cost of 9 strikeouts in return for 1 grand slam. This echoes the sentiment of the famous inventor Thomas Edison. He tried thousands of different materials for the glowing filament inside a light bulb before finding one that worked. He famously said, "I've not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." He knew that every failure reveals a truth about the world, and that unexpected results are often the most interesting, in that they uncover brand new and sometimes breakthrough findings. Successful innovations result from trying lots of approaches to solve a particular problem and keeping what works. This necessarily results in a large number of unexpected outcomes and discarded ideas. In fact, if you aren't throwing away a large percentage of your ideas, then you aren't trying enough options. This should sound familiar. It's similar to Darwin's description of evolution, in which nature performs a vast number of experiments and keeps what works. Animals and plants come into existence all the time, with various mutations. Each mutation is nature's experiment. If it's beneficial, the result is repeated in future generations. If it isn't, then the failed experiment was just that. All you have to do is look around to see all the amazing plants and animals that are the result of nature's experiments. Master innovators appreciate unexpected outcomes. Mir Imran, a remarkably successful medical technology inventor, told me that failure is his constant companion and success is an occasional visitor. Mir appreciates failures because each one teaches him something important on the road to a breakthrough idea. The biggest thing that gets in the way of tackling projects that might not succeed is our attitude. A study by Baba Sheed, a professor at Stanford Graduate School of Business, suggests that there are two distinct mindsets related to taking on challenges. Some people are driven by their strong fear of failure, and therefore they're unwilling to take on challenges that have a chance of not turning out well. Others are driven by their strong fear of missing an opportunity. The latter group is willing to take on projects that have a high chance of failure because they don't want to miss out on a chance that it might succeed. I've also seen a hybrid group who battle with both a deep-seated fear of failure and a powerful fear of missing out. They struggle intensely, wanting to do something daring and important, but terribly afraid to fail. The best way to overcome this angst is to start by taking small chances first, to build your creative confidence. The more confidence you have that a problem can be solved, the more likely it is that you'll push through the fears to take on larger and larger challenges. Eventually, your drive to succeed outweighs your fear of failure. As Henry Ford famously said, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. The projects you've taken on over the past few weeks require you to look at the world more closely, to connect things in new ways, and to challenge assumptions, have hopefully provided you with concrete tools that tip the balance in favor of tackling challenges as opposed to avoiding them. They've also demonstrated that by building teams and environments that are optimized for innovation and contributing to a culture that encourages experimentation, you'll increase the creative output across your entire organization. It's important to remember that creativity is an endless natural resource and that every problem you face is an opportunity for a creative solution. We each hold the key to our innovation engine, and creativity is waiting to be unleashed. It's up to you to turn the keys.
So just again, second last slide before a few book recommendations. Creativity can be learned, right? So this is something that you're not born with. You can learn to become more creative, and as Tina Selleck was saying in the video, you have to take small steps, right? So it's all by practice, practice, practice. What do you practice? You start by acting different, by observing, questioning, experimenting, and networking. So again, I always like to say that every day you should say to yourself at the end of the day, what did I learn today? What did I do different today, right? To almost like make it like a game where every day you must have a new experience. Maybe it's meeting a new person. Maybe it's trying Indian food or something that you thought was strange and you're willing to give it a try. So it's just like taking small steps, and by taking small steps, you will start to realize that this is actually quite easy, and you will actually take greater steps further on. So again, start by looking around you, asking questions, experimenting, trying new things, and meeting, especially 15 minutes, meeting new people. And then you will think different. So by acting different, it changes the way you think. This is the whole idea. So through these actions, you will then develop the creative mindset and pick things from different areas and start combining things, what we call association. And my book recommendation list are these four. This is the one that we're talking about in a big way. This is the woman, the video, Tina Selleck, that you just saw. This is also a great book, What I Wish I Knew When I Was 20. Maybe I can make it available to you for photocopying if you want. It's her giving young people advice on success at a very young age. Most of you are probably 20 in that range, some of you younger, some of you a bit older, so I think that would be a good book. This one is from Stanford University, from the design school at Stanford. And I like this one also, the dizzy effect about the reverse assumptions. The author there, Franz Johansson, is also quite interested in a lot of creative stories in that. But this book, and this one here, I especially like. And I think I will give copy of the presentation to you, right? So you can share the copy in the Dropbox. Okay, and it's pretty much just questions, so 15 minutes left, right? Yes?
Thank you. My name is Dyer. I have many questions, but I would like to come up with 3 questions.
Okay.
Yeah. The first question is, how can I come up to create new things when I was already had in my mind?
One more time. How can I come up with new
How
things?
can I come up to create new things when I was already had in my mind?
Already what in the mind?
Had in my mind.
Head in the mind.
Had.
យីថ្មៃសិន
និយាយថាតើខ្ញុំត្រូវធ្វើយ៉ាងម៉េចដើម្បីបង្កើតនៅអ្វីដែលថ្មីនៅពេលដែលខ្ញុំនឹងបានគិតដែលវាមាននៅក្នុងគូបានរបស់ខ្ញុំហើយធ្វើម៉េចដើម្បីតែខ្ញុំក៏បានធ្វើនឹងឯងយល់ទេ
That she has something in mind already, but how can she actually be going about innovating something?
So she has an idea.
Yeah.
So how to implement that idea? Through small steps, right? Through testing the idea, some wise. Because sometimes we have an idea, but it can be a wrong idea also, right? So failure is good. You just don't want to fail in a big way. So I would conduct small experiments. So for example, if I have an idea for a school, I would obviously spend a lot of time with my potential customer, try to do some training in some small pilot project to see what works, what does not work. And only when I understand it fully will I invest a lot of money so I don't have a big failure. So I think it's testing your idea. That would be my guess. But it would help if I knew what your idea was, right? That would be helpful. But in a general way, I would just test my ideas. Because sometimes we have the wrong idea. It's like for me with Swenson's, I thought this is going to be a failure. But it wasn't a failure because I wasn't observing the customer, right? So again, you know, going back to the previous slide, I think by doing these 4 things, this helps you a lot, right? Because if I have an idea, if I have a network, I can ask people. You know? So if I have an idea, and if I have a diverse network with people with experience, I can go to them. I say, I have this idea for a donut shop in Cambodia. What do you think? And someone might say in my network, oh, Steve, I tried donuts, big failure, don't go near donuts, but why don't you try something else, right? So the more people you know, the more people you can share and get their feedback, right? But if you have a very limited network, the feedback is going to be also
In this way, I have already tried it, and now I'm asking to the first level related to the philosophy.
Okay.
Yes. So two more questions. How can I create the observation, and how can I create observation and create a time to observation?
Okay, I mean, that's very general and difficult because it depends on what you're trying to observe and what you are trying to test, right? Some things are very easy, some things are very difficult. Some of my students do internet business, right? And then you can easily do something on the web, and you can put something up and you can see how many people download, and you can get direct feedback. Some things are much more complex to test, right? If I'm designing a new airplane, that's a very different level of testing and complexity. So it depends on what you are doing. It varies, basically. Not a good answer, I know, but sorry.
Last week I joined business competition, but I was not ready. But for my experience, I want to know how can I prepare myself for the next business competition.
Good question.
Yeah.
Good question. Because I'm just going to
After
show
coming
you.
back from the Czech Republic, I will start business competition again.
Okay. Would you give me a good introduction to the competition that we are launching Now, business model competition Cambodia. I almost forgot to talk about this. So thank you. Just quickly, this competition is open to all students, university students, actually even high school. I think we have a team from Sissawa, the one that won the Global Enterprise Challenge, who will join. Basically, what you have to do is put together a creative team of 3 people, any 3 people from any school, mix it up to you. Come up with an idea for agriculture, business, social business, technology, whatever. Develop a 3-minute creative video. Upload it, and then apply to the competition by October 1st. We will select the best 24 teams. We will provide free training for those 24 teams. And then they will do a final competition and can win 3,000, 2,000 for second, 1,000 for third place. Plus you get to travel and go to the regional competition, and then the international competition is in the US. So that professor, the first professor from the video that I met in the US, that was because I attended the International Business Model Competition, and he was one of the guest speakers, right? They give $20,000, I think, prize money, a lot of prize money in the US. So this is open to all of you guys, right? So if any of you want to form 1 team, 2 teams, many teams, right? If you have good ideas, you just have to develop a creative 3-minute video. We have video technology here, right, on display. So, yeah, so I encourage a lot of you guys to apply to this competition. Any idea is possible, right? It can be a social idea, school, education, can be an idea for profit, can be a big idea, can be a small idea. And you have to create a 3-minute. Let me, since we do have time, I think, hold on.
6 minutes.
I know. Okay, here's a sample video. This was created by NUM students. And this is to get into the competition, okay? This is to get inside. This team did not win, but they got into the competition with this video.
Tourism industry in Cambodia, as we know it, is an integral part of national revenue. The flower blossoms most in the province of Siem Reap, where tourists from all around the world come to discover the unique culture and the pristine beauty of nature. As a hub for tourists, Siem Reap has always been a potential place where business grows. There's a whole lot of tourist destinations in Siem Reap. Hot air balloon has been operated for quite a few years, but it is absolutely prone to fire and strong wind. Recently in March, a hot air balloon crashed with 9 people injured. We are concerned with the safety and comfort of the passengers. So we're introducing a type of tour that is safe, comfortable, controlled, elegant. And it provides you an amazing, thrilling, and memorable experience. That is the Angkor Zeppelin.
The Angkor Zeppelin is an airship made of float in the air by helium gas. It is 25 meters long with a width of 19.5 meters. While the passengers can sit, relax, and help themselves with the glamorous refreshments, they will get a lifetime experience and a snapshot opportunity of the bird-eye view down upon the aesthetic landscapes and ancient temples in the vicinity of the province. Moreover, the airship will meet the expectation of tourists with the intention of participation, filming, research, so on and so forth. Another main advantage is that the Angkor Zeppelin can be an effective marketing tool for companies and organizations.
The reason behind our business is the uniqueness we want to convey. Besides safety assurance, the Angkor Zeppelin will become the pioneering airship tour in Asia. When we are operating our business, the entire process will contribute to the enhancement of the Cambodian economy. And we believe that the untapped market of airship tour will make us stand out among other businesses in Cambodia.
It's fun.
It's safe. It's all here with us, the Angkor Zeppelin.
So Biggs University, NUM, Rural IFL, different skills, different background. And so that was a big idea, and just one last one. A small idea.
Cambodia is hot.
This
and
one actually,
sweaty.
this one
Due
started.
to the country's tropical weather, people need something cold, refreshing, something frozen. What can there be? How about snow? There are shaved ice with syrup that is sold locally on the streets. but because of the strong sweet taste and language barrier, tourists and foreigners hesitate to try them out. There are a few franchises selling refreshments and cold desserts, but hard to locate and shops are limited. So here we are. We want to bring snow all around Cambodia. We proudly introduce Snow Mango. Meet our friends, Santoma and Kang Tho.
Hello, my name is Toma. I am the local think tank in Snow Mango. We enjoy and feel fresh, feel great, and surprised with our customer service. I guarantee. Thank you.
Hi, my name is San. My Cambodian name is Soka. I'm creative chef. I make nutritious, hygienic, and delicious food. I promise you.
Our strength is, of course, the incredible taste, the combination of shaved ice, mango, and yogurt ice cream. We will use ice-frozen natural milk for shaved ice, super fresh Cambodian mango, and creamy plus healthy yogurt ice cream. We are going to increase mobility and access using food trucks. In the Western countries and Europe, there are numerous food trucks successfully doing business. However, this approach has been never used in Cambodia successfully yet. By using mobile truck, we will be able to meet with every customer out there. We will go wherever our customer wants us to be. So here's our plan. Prepare super duper delicious shaved ice with yogurt ice cream. Use SNS to communicate with customers. Advertise on tourist guides and websites. And donate our profit to NGOs that promotes education for children to improve social and educational development for Cambodia. We will also work with local farmers to promote Cambodia's fresh tropical fruits. Our goal is to make Snow Mango the landmark of Cambodia, which can draw tourists into the country and improve Cambodia's well-being as well as the society.
We start with what you want to try.
But in the future, you will see our truck everywhere in Cambodia.
We must
do it.
Snow Mango.
So they actually started the business in Bang Kong. So you can actually have tried it already, the product. Only one location, not the food truck yet. But so these are examples of some of the teams that did last year's competition. I think you guys can do better, right? I think you can come up with better, more creative. So some people just talk in front of the camera, some do animation, some get out of the building with the camera and film in the society. But this is creativity also. You have a challenge to create a 3-minute video with an interesting idea. It can be a big idea like Zeppelin or a small idea like dessert. And I bet you in this room here, we have some amazing ideas. And you have until October 1st to form your team, come up with an idea, do your 3-minute video, and maybe get help from our cameraman. Some people just use their iPhone actually.
Or you can use your skill after you learn the, because after this there will be some more sessions on videos.
Good, excellent. And I'll give you all the information with the website and you can pass it directly to the students. So your copies. Wow, I'm trying to squeeze all the information into time. Any question? Any last minute question? Yes.
Thank you for your interesting presentation. Taking into consideration creativity is the source of innovation. Is creativity priority for advocates?
Is creativity a priority for?
Is creativity a strategic priority?
Yes. I mean, what I was saying with Thomas Friedman is that in the future, companies will be looking for creative people, right? So if I am, and I've heard people say this already, like I've heard banks, I've heard even accounting organizations like Pricewaterhouse. Sometimes they hire people who don't even study accounting. And sometimes my students come to me and say, how can Pricewaterhouse hire someone from IFL? And they say, well, because that person from IFL have a lot of proactive thinking skill, creativity. We know accounting. We can teach accounting. That's very easy. but we cannot teach the soft skill. We cannot teach the creativity. We cannot teach the creative thinking, the energy, the proactivity, right? So a lot of big companies now want people, right? So it's not just studying accounting or studying something technical. You need to have these, what we call soft skills. All companies are looking, especially the international companies. So even if you don't want to start your own business, even if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, companies now want people who think like an entrepreneur. Because those same skills you can use inside your organization. If you think entrepreneurially, you will create new products, new services. You will solve problems. So if my company has many problems, you will be able to creatively solve those problems, working on as part of a team. That's basically where this is going, right? So in the future, to be successful, you need to have the creativity. If you don't, it's going to be harder to get the higher paying jobs and harder to compete. We have ASEAN integration coming up. Sooner or later, you will be competing with Singapore and Malaysia and Thailand. So it's very important for Cambodian education system to emphasize creativity at a younger age. And I think the Ministry of Education is really focusing on that right now. So I have big hope that Cambodia is moving in the right direction on these issues. So yes, very important. Yeah, question?
Thank you. I have one question. I want to share some tips how to run business without money.
How to run business? Network. Because if you have a big network, you might have people with money, right? And you can use their money. So yes, I mean, the more people you know, so if I don't have money but I have a great idea, if I have a big network, I can use my network to get access to financing and access to capital. So the more people you know in your network, the more people who can help you. And also ask. A lot of people make a mistake. They're afraid to ask for help. Always ask for help, right? You would be surprised when you ask someone who's much more successful than you, they're happy to share their wisdom and experience, right? So a lot of people are afraid to ask. But actually, when you ask for help, it's a very successful strategy. Another piece of advice, help other people. It should not just be about you, right? The more people you help, the more help will come your way over a long period of time, right? So I always have a mindset of how can I help people? The more people I help, that is my goal. And what I find is you might help someone, nothing might happen, right? But that same person you might meet 5 years later and there's something that you are doing and it fits and it comes back. So I'm not saying that you should help because you expect a return, but I'm saying that the more people you help, long term, it's a very successful strategy, right? So he also talks about that in the book. So always have a mindset of how can I help other people? And when you do that, you will find that your connections also develop and you get to know more and more people. Your network, your resource also expands. So I'm a big believer in helping people and also asking when I need help. And I'm always surprised at how people respond, right? So I reach out, to give you an example, I read a book recently, and I do this a lot. If I read a book, I contact the author if I like the book. Most people don't do that because they say the author is not going to respond. I get email response. I just read a book on innovation, double author. One was an Israeli professor, one was an American professor. I sent emails to both of them that I got on the line, on the web. I figured they're not both going to respond, only one, so I sent to both. They both responded in 24 hours. Over a weekend, we exchanged 6 or 8 emails back and forth. They gave me all their materials. They gave me all their PowerPoint, everything in a Dropbox, right? Everything. And I said, wow, these guys are, this is really good. But then I helped them. Then I said, well, how can I help you? And, I know you're not doing anything in Cambodia and in the region, so it would be great if you could come, and I could help introduce you to some other people here that might help what you are doing, right? This is what I mean. They help me, and then I find ways to reach out and help them, right? So be brave, right? If most people do not send emails to authors. I started doing this for a number of people. Most do reply. It's amazing, right? If you tell an interesting story about what you are doing, and because remember, a lot of people don't know anything about Cambodia, right? So that is an advantage, right? Someone write a book in the U.S. and they get an email from a Cambodian student. Say, oh, I don't know anything. This Cambodian student is writing me, so they feel they should reply, right? So this is how you create network. And so I'm a big believer in helping people and being brave to reach out for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I think that's very important. Yes.
Okay, and one thing is that after all the trainings, all of you are going to do projects, as you know, projects to promote integrity, transparency, fighting against corruptions, or any community projects. So, what is your last message or to help them get out the most of the training and implement in their projects?
Wow, that's a big question. You mean how to find projects, how to develop ideas to work on?
Or what can they take back from the lesson and make use of it?
Okay, from the lesson, I think I want you to start observing and asking questions and networking and experimenting and trying new things. And also thinking about what are the biggest problems in Cambodian society. Because, you know, it's the same for the business competition. You know, think of what are the serious problems in Cambodia. And do other countries share those problems? So, for example, when Muhammad Yunus spoke in Phnom Penh, he talked about the problem of water, arsenic poisoning in water. They have that in Bangladesh, they have this problem in Cambodia. He said there is a solution, if someone could work on a solution. I posted on Facebook. Someone from an NGO says, oh, we're already working on this. And I said, would you like some students to help on this project? They said, we would love that type of situation, right? So when you are thinking of project, you have to observe the society. You have to think of what are the big problems relating to transparency in Cambodian society. And what are the problems that I can realistically focus on for my project. And who do I know in my network who I can interview, I can survey, who can maybe help me move forward with that particular project. So that is basically how I would take the approach. But I think going forward, the lesson I want you to leave with is that every day you should try to have something new experience. Say, you know, so when I go to bed in the evening, I always say to myself, what did I do different today? Who did I meet that I didn't know before? Did I have a new experience? Even if it is something very superficial like going to Eon Shopping Mall, right? But it's like, what did I do today that I learned something? Or did I go to a guest lecture and did I learn something from my professor, right? So even one thing, if I can do 2 things or 3 things, that's a bonus, but it should always be one thing, right? So I always reflect at the end of the day. What did I learn? Who did I meet? Did I do something different? So that encourages me to do more, right? So you don't want to get into a routine. You don't want to do the same thing. You don't want to eat the same food at lunch every time, right? So it's getting out, experimenting, and you don't want to have lunch with the same people all the time. You want to interact. I would guess here that some of you have friends, right? And when you come to this session, before the session starts, you talk to maybe 3 or 4 people only, right? You're probably not really engaging everyone in the room. And you probably sit in the same chair, I'm guessing, right? I'm guessing that if I came here last night, most people are probably in the same chair, and probably the people sitting next to you, maybe you were sitting next to her, I'm guessing, I could be wrong. You should not do that. You should move around. You should change your environment, even within the classroom. But we are not like that. We sometimes are insecure and we want to be next to our friends and stuff like this. Kema has been rotating. She was sitting here, and now she's sitting over here. She's moving around. So basically, move around, meet new people, right? Don't be shy. Don't be afraid. When I was young, I was also very shy. When I get older, I realize, no, you can ask questions, you can contact people, you can overcome that. But it's practice, practice, practice. Taking small steps before you take big steps.
One more thing. Already in addition, remember what Tina Smith is saying. Whenever you see problem, there's an opportunity to give out another new solution. So every time you go everywhere, you see corruption in every single aspect.
Yes.
Find a way how you can make a small difference to that.
That's a good one. That's a good one. So every problem there's an answer, there's a solution.
Questions?
Thank you guys very much. It's been very enjoyable.
Hey, and finally, and the last sentence ever is
Great.
any creative ideas?
I think you are more creative.